Politics now. Steve Shigaris is a senior political editor for CBS News, and he joins us from New York. Steve, good to talk to you. Voters are interviewed on their way out of the voting booths. It's called exit polling. And I want to talk to you about some of the numbers and some of the things that you learned as you took a look at the exit polls for Florida voters in particular. Charlie Crist, we know he lost tonight, but his favorability numbers were a lot higher than Rick Scott's, who won.
Yeah, it's a head scratcher, actually. You look at some of these numbers. So Chris had a 51% favorable rating in the exit polls, Scott 44%. And if you look at these other numbers, Chris sort of had the advantage. I think the one thing that sort of struck me after looking at how this turned out, 60% did say that they thought that Chris changed parties to help him win elections. And I'm wondering if that's what sort of, people just weren't sold on that issue.
Let's talk about the national picture here. There are a number of reports now that the Republicans will retake control of the United States Senate. What does that mean for President Obama as he finishes out the last two years of his presidency? And look ahead for us to 2016 and the next presidential race.
Well, so immediately what that means is that the Republicans now have control of the House and the Senate, and so they'll sort of dictate what is going to happen legislatively in Washington and really force the president to make decisions on issues such as, they're going to want to try to tweak Obamacare, maybe try to repeal it. They'll talk about tweaking the financial regulations under the Dodd-Frank banking bill. They'll probably pressure him on foreign policy more. And most importantly, in the Senate, any nominations that come up, whether it's judicial nominations or cabinet nominations, are going to have to go through a Republican Senate. It's going to be a lot harder for the president to get those through.
Steve, finally, there are two names here in Florida that get mentioned a lot when you talk about the 2016 presidential race. One of them, Jeb Bush. The other one, Marco Rubio. Did we learn at all what voters think of those two tonight?
Well, Florida voters don't think very highly of them, apparently. Half of Florida voters said they don't want to see them or they don't think they would make a good president. And I think that's a little bit interesting coming from Florida voters. Jeb was a pretty popular governor down there, but they don't really see him as presidential material. It's pretty interesting.
All right, Steve Shigaris joining us from New York, talking to us about the numbers here in Florida and nationally. Good to talk to you, Steve. Thanks so much.
Thank you.